It's what everyone wants to hear about today. It's what everyone's talking about this morning. We'll get to it after a reminder that August 26th, next week, it's FanDuel's Future Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown a Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is a one day only event. FanDuel, play your game when you want. America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, we got our first glimpse of Dillon Gabriel in game action against Philadelphia. The stats, pretty simple. He completed 72.2% of his passes for 143 yards, did not score a touchdown via the air, threw the pick six. He also fumbled a snap. He had a 72.2 quarterback rating and rushed for 1 yard. Earl, I'll start with you. What'd you make of Dillon Gabriel's debut performance, and what kind of grade would you give Gabriel, just like we did last week for Shedeur, based on their 2 quarters or 2+ quarters of play?
Oh, I like this. First of all, foremost, before we set him up, I like he got his notes of integrity out here. I like that.
Integrity.
Like, yeah, before you even get into it, he's like, yeah. Let me get to my handy dandy. Yeah.
So I went back and I watched the game again. I gave him a C-.
Wow!
A C-.
Oh.
The reason why I gave him a C-, I'll just go through and look what I saw. I thought there was some good throws in there, but after he threw the interception, I thought that his performance declined. I go back to the first completion that stood out to me. He completed a 10-yard pass for a 3rd down. Even Joe Thomas said it on the broadcast. That was a nice pass, but he had happy feet. I thought the 3rd down completion to Jamari Thrash on an outright route, I thought that was cool. So he went 3 for 3 on 3rd downs on the opening drive. I did notice, though, when he was under center or taking snaps, like as far as play action passes, he was not as successful running those concepts or whatever the case may be. The longest pass he had that traveled through the year was like 18 yards. I just felt like the bot's fumble was on him. The interception, I felt like was a pass that he could have thrown away. To me, it was the same thing that I kind of saw in practice when I watched him play. You see some throws from him. You see some plays that make you go, okay, that was a dart. But then it's always followed up with some inconsistencies. Or when he does something that's bad, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. The turnovers was bad. I felt like in this performance that he actually had to come out here and play better than what Shedeur Sanders did, and he didn't do that to me. I didn't see anything that was like over the top impressive, but I will say this. If there's
He didn't make any throws that made you say that was impressive?
It was throws. I said I didn't see anything that was over the top impressive. But I will say this, G.
Throws.
If there's any narrative that he did put to bed, there were certain people in the media that said he was not an NFL quarterback. Dillon Gabriel is clearly an NFL quarterback. He's a competent NFL quarterback. But I didn't see anything that really got me excited or kind of moved me for real.
I'm trying to think about now McNuggets. Did I give him a regular C or C-? What did I say?
You gave him a C on the postgame show.
Okay, I gave him a C, right? I went back. I watched all of his throws again 3 times. So when I go back, I'm going to make a revision on the curve. I'm going to give him a C+. I give him a C+. And the reason I moved him up from a C to a C+ is because it alludes to some of the things that I saw. So first and foremost, when he has time and a clean pocket, he can deliver the ball with accuracy, pace, and location. I thought the throw on the out to Mari Thrash was spot on. I like some of the deep end routes that he was able to throw. One to Davis at the end of I believe it was the 2nd quarter to get in field goal position. I thought he threw a nice couple of passes when it comes to out routes. That's his forte. He threw with anticipation. He snuck the ball in a couple tight windows. And the thing that I moved him up for was the fact that he was, I believe in his first drive, he was 3 for 3 on 3rd downs. And on 3rd downs, there was a penalty at one of those plays where it moved him back a little bit. I thought he did a nice job of moving and getting back into those perspectives and to get back into an opportunity to make the first downs, right? Also, I thought there were some concepts that were elevated concepts that Stefanski was putting out there, where there was a complete full read system where you went from 1 to 2 to 3, and then he actually got to his 4th read, which is impressive for a rookie quarterback to get from your 1st to the 4th and not be sacked. Plus, there was some pressure upside. So, to me, the good is, I'll take away from what that Earl said. I think he could be a competent backup in this league. I think that he has arm strength that is bigger than his stature. And you saw where he was accurate with the throws that he went underneath and doing different things like that. So that was the good, right? I do think that he could be a solid backup. But here's where the limitations come in. When you watch him play from the pocket, if the pocket is not clean, it takes him into another realm where now he has to search for windows. And a lot of what Dillon Gabriel's issues are physical, and you can improve those things, right? Searching for passing windows. And the one thing that he has to do is the decision making. So we've been talking about, and I've seen all people talk about it's the receiver, this, that. And listen, we have to cut that. Dillon Gabriel is the signal caller. If a receiver runs a bad route and he's not there, and there's 2 guys jumbled up in one area, your job is to throw the ball in the stands. Live to fight another day is 2nd down. That is on decision making. So when you have those opportunities and you're in a competition, and by the way, the Cleveland Browns said it was a competition. So when you have a competition, we have to grade these things at a elevated level. We have to grade it as a graduate level. If this was just him being a 3rd round pick and they already had the pecking order, Flacco pick or whatever, the grading system wouldn't be that high. But they told us that they are competing for the starting job. So I have to judge you as a starter. There was a turnover there that led to a pick 6, and there was a turnover with the handoff, and I believe that was on the quarterback. As I go back, you got to get over there and you got to put the ball in his stomach. So for me, Kevin Stefanski puts it at a premium. He doesn't want turnovers. Is the reason Jameis Winston isn't here. So in terms of the competition and the way it looks, and I've been long-winded here, but I wanted to explain it. It's simple. From the get-go, when this thing has been going on, I believe when you look at Dillon Gabriel and you look at Shedeur Sanders has been better. He's been better at camp. He's been better and more accurate during practice. He's been better in OTAs. He was better in the football game. Now, that's not to say that Dillon Gabriel can't be a serviceable player or a serviceable backup. But if you're asking me who's performed the best, I would say at all points, Shedeur Sanders has outperformed Dillon Gabriel. I give him a C+. I gave Shedeur Sanders an A- in the first game, and I even went back and looked at the throws to upgrade Dillon Gabriel. So that was my assessment of the game.
So I always say, I want to be consistent. With Shedeur, I said, I look at the stats. Stats are very important. Those are the analytics. That's what we can take away and we can discuss. But first, I want to talk about did he look like he could play quarterback in the NFL? Easily, yes. So did Shedeur. I thought Shedeur had more to prove to me in that area because I already felt like Dillon Gabriel was that guy. I saw him enough at Oregon to know that if he didn't make it in the NFL, it was going to be size-related, not skill-set-related. And I did not have the assessment that Shedeur Sanders was definitely going to be an NFL quarterback. He did prove something to me with his first start. For me, the scale on Dillon Gabriel was I basically already had reached that assessment based on how I watched him play against high-level competition on a week-in and week-out basis at Oregon and thrive. So I didn't need to see that. But he did check that box. He looks the part. His footwork was fine. I'm still concerned about his size. There were times where I felt like he was throwing the ball, like just his launch angle, if you will. Mm-hmm. To me, when a guy is 6'5", he can throw down to a receiver coming over the middle. When you can't throw that ball down, you can't throw that ball.
And that's why Gabriel, a lot of his misses are high, by the way.
100%. And you kind of get it, but those are the kind of balls that get picked. So I would say, and there's nothing he can do about his size. He's 5'11". That's what he is. He's going to be that tomorrow. That's never going to change, and that's always going to be top of my list of concerns for Dillon Gabriel. As for the grade, I give him a B-. I think C- just a tick above a D. That's really harsh, bro. That's harsh. When you complete 72% of your passes, and on the pick, I always say on picks too, always, unless it's a tip ball and goes off a receiver who's wide open. That is not on the quarterback. And I also believe, and from talking to some people...
So you saying this one was, or...
No, all picks but tipped balls
okay. I see what you
are on the quarterback. Yeah. This one was absolutely on the quarterback. Now, there were other mitigating factors.
Yes.
Absolutely. There often are. Even when guys... Unless a guy just throws a ball to a wide open defender. What are you doing? That's 100% on the quarterback. But as you start parsing blame... The ball that goes off a wide open wide receiver's hands and tipped into the defensive back,
I'm not giving
that's 0% on the quarterback, 100% on the wide receiver.
I'm not
then there's all kinds of shades in between.
Yeah.
The ball to the wide open defender, what are you doing? What were you seeing? 100% quarterback. On this one, I'm saying 80% quarterback. It's always the quarterback's decision to pull the trigger and to throw the football. That is a ball, and I listened to Kevin Stefanski's comments yesterday, and I believe that this is what it's a good teaching moment. You don't have to throw that pass. If you throw that pass and complete it, it's a 5-yard completion. What are you doing? Throw it 10 yards deep into the seats. There's no need to throw that ball. Look, there are seasoned vets. How many times did we see Joe Flacco did that 2 years ago? Joe, what are you doing? You're trying to bite off 3 yards here. Throw it away.
That's part.
Jameis Winston is the poster child for that.
But that's part of the business.
I get it. I get it.
No. I'm saying it's part of it because you actually need a quarterback to have some of that in him that says, I could get it in there.
It got Baker Mayfield run out of here.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So if I'm the coaching staff, particularly Kevin Stefanski, because he's the common thread through Baker, I show him that ball on tape. I know your secondary receiver is supposed to be 6 yards back. I understand the safety never should have been involved in that play, but he was. And you knew it. You saw it. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you some tape from Baker Mayfield where the exact same thing happened. And Baker threw a pick six on the exact same play. Baker made that the rule, not the exception.
Yeah.
You better make that the exception.
Yeah, like
because it got him run out of here.
And this is Kevin Stefanski's personality. Like you are the quarterback is the extension of the head coach on the football field.
100%.
So you have to play within those in that moment, and you got to play within those boundaries because the coach is looking at you and evaluating you heavier on certain things. Kevin Stefanski, in my mind, and I don't know if this would be true because I ain't talked to him. Kevin Stefanski almost looks at as interceptions as a higher level of emotion than even touchdowns.
They are.
If you throw 2 touchdowns and 2 picks,
you're not even.
He's like, no, bro. No. If you just them two turnovers hurt us because Kevin Stefanski also knows that this Cleveland Browns offense points are at a premium. We can't, and if you look at that football game, the way he's going to get a judge, Earl, is because of this. The Cleveland Browns dominated that game in the first quarter. They led in time of possession. They had more plays down the field. They moved the ball up and down.
They went to halftime. So for me, Jay said
it was the only touchdown they scored.
That was it.
Jay said my grade was harsh, and I respect his opinion. But to me, when you look at everything that led up into his first start, number one, he's taken much more reps with the first and second team than Shedeur did. 2, yeah, he did lead a touchdown drive, but the rest of those red zone drives resulted in field goals. The Browns struggled to score touchdowns last year when they got in the red zone. The game prior to that, we seen a quarterback who did not have his.
Does it matter to you the competition at all, or no?
I wanted to just see how they look.
So regardless if Philly would have played their starters,
I don't want to lose my train of thought. So you get Shedeur last week. He get 3 red zone opportunities. He throws 2 touchdowns. Running back runs it in for 1. Dillon leads a touchdown drive. The other 2 results in field goals. I just go back to, okay, well, you've had more reps doing this, and especially knowing that in the red zone during practice was an area where everybody that watched with their eyes, Shedeur kind of played better than him during the red zone. That first red zone opportunity, I don't even think he attempted to pass. Kev opted to run the ball. We scored. Whatever. However,
well, that's not on him.
You let a great drive. I'm not trying to knock him for that at all. But when I look at the amount of reps that you had, when I look at how they look at you as your processing speed, etc., I just felt like, okay, if all of this is the case, you should play as good or if not better as your opponent who you're competing with. And he didn't do that.
See, now here's
That's
where
just my thing.
this is why I would say it was harsh. Because these are the things that I look at. In baseball, there's leverage pitches. We all know what they are when the game is in the balance. So if you got the bases loaded in a 3-run lead, every pitch to that next hitter is a leverage pitch. The game is in the balance. You give up a home run, leverage pitch. Typically, in a close game, you could throw 50% of your pitches could be leverage pitches. Pitchers are judged by, yes, the overall body of work, but what did you do with the leverage pitches? Did you get a ground ball double play out of the inning, threat over, or did you give up a 2-run double? So, and those things weigh very heavily. They're like interceptions and touchdowns, okay? Game-changing leverage pitches. So what I would say about Dillon Gabriel that really did impress me, this is the thing that impressed me most, even if I wasn't keeping a running tab of the numbers, which I wasn't. I looked at him when he was done. I thought, that's about kind of what I expected. The 70% completion is exactly where I want him to be. But his leverage throws were very, very good. His third down throws. NFL coaches will tell you that that's where your bread is buttered. That's where you make your money. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes because he's Mr. Third Down. He keeps drives alive. That's what you have to do. By hook or by crook, you have to keep drives alive. And for that, I thought in his leverage throws, he was above average. And in his other throws, I wouldn't want to say he was below average, but he wasn't above average in his effort. To me, what I like most about that is there are gamers and there are posers. And I think
I thought she was going to say entertainers and competitors, but we ain't got to that yet.
No, we ain't got to that yet. That's coming.
We're doing that next.
That's
I'm just playing.
But the gamer is the guy who really doesn't talk a whole lot, but he comes out on third down and he contributes. He makes those plays. As a pitcher, he's the guy that comes into the game in a tight spot. He gets the outs. He goes to the dugout. Done. A lot of times, what you have on the other side are guys that play really well in large part. And the Browns have had a number of these guys over the years. I don't know that we have one on our roster right now. I don't think we do. But it's in those big moments, man. You got to come through. You got to come through. You have to complete this pass. This is where your money's made. This determines, does your offense stay on the field or your defense stays on the field? And head coaches love the guys that keep the offense on the field. And I thought Dillon Gabriel, to me, showed me that he has that ability. Now, the other reason that I thought the C- was harsh, here's why. You can't control who you're playing against. You can't. You just got to play. You got to put it out there. You got to do the best you can. I take into account Carolina's twos versus the Eagles' twos. I think, for my money, the Eagles are the deepest team in football. You guys, do I get any disagreement on that?
Listen, I like the Eagles.
The Eagles' defense especially.
But here's
their twos could start for many teams.
Here's where I go with it, though. So and
he looked good against those
twos.
teams.
Here's the thesis. So, yes. So when you're playing with whoever you're playing with, all you can do is play with whoever you can play with, right? But when Shedeur was playing and people had talked about the situation that why he was playing with 3s or 4s at other receivers, I said on Twitter, it don't matter who you playing with. If they're going to play the ones and he's going to play with guys that he's throwing to trash cans to or guys that ain't going to be playing on the field, he got to go out and show it. And what Shedeur Sanders did is, yes, you have leverage throws on third down, but the biggest key is leverage throws in the red zone. Shedeur Sanders gave...
Well, those are the biggest leverage. Those are leverage throws, every one of them.
So, yes, I'm going to give you credit for hitting third downs, but I'm going to give you extra bonus points for leading not field goal drives, but touchdown drives.
That's why I wanted to see on that first drive, I wanted to see throws in the red zone. Why are we running it?
Touchdown.
So another point
Throw the football.
Another point to everything we're talking about, right? We talking about Kevin Stefanski getting back to his roots, right? Play action, running the football. And I just went back and I watched the throws, and I thought he was very, very good when he operated out of the gun. I actually thought his best throw is when he went under center and he had a play action pass, and that's when he hit Cedric Tillman for 18 yards. To me, that was the best throw because that came from a grassroots Kevin Stefanski, style of play or whatever the case may be. And so to me, when we get to the regular season, and if he's put in a situation to where he has to play, I don't think Kev can just continuously go out there and run him out there in shotgun because that's where he's best at and think you're going to have consistent success. When in reality is your system is calling for you to run the football, play action passes, hit your tight ends, operate in the red zone. And I went back and I counted. And I counted about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays to where I seen him operate under center and it was a play action pass. He had 1 completion.
So I look at it this way too, and I think this is key to say. A lot of this conversation has been brought up by the fact that when we first started talking about Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, there were a lot of people that downplayed everything that Shedeur did in a practice. And it didn't need to go that way. You could have minimized, you could have just kept it like they both played well today, they both did this. But when you consistently say 5th round pick, you consistently say that Dillon Gabriel is light years ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Dillon Gabriel is so far ahead of him right now.
We've heard it the other way too. We've heard a lot of people saying that Shedeur Sanders is light years ahead. Here's the brass tacks of it. Neither of these guys are ahead of either of them. They're not.
That's to me. I think Shedeur Sanders has performed better.
So I reached out to 3 guys I trust in the league. One's a former player, one's a current executive, and one's a former general manager. I asked this question. Now, one of them, not the player, but one of them said, I didn't see every play, but I saw the mixed highlights. So that's always dicey. And they all prefaced it this way. Well, we haven't seen enough. The 3rd preseason game is going to decide that. But I asked 2 questions. How many quarterbacks are the Browns keeping? And who stays and who goes? And the preface was, if they keep 3, who stays and who goes? All 3 had Shedeur Sanders as number 4 right now. But they said it's like 3 and 3A. They're very close. But here's why they said Shedeur would go. Because of the draft status. It matters.
You saying get cut?
Yes. If they
that's
keep,
wild.
See,
That's
now look.
crazy. That's wild.
And this is 3 out of 3.
That's
G-Bush.
That's wilder.
Okay,
wilder than your C-.
Now watch.
That's crazy.
Now watch. If you're gonna cut one, who's your choice?
Pickett. Bye.
Kenny Pickett. We said this last week.
See, now, this is another thing that we just can't say because we haven't seen him. I had asked the executive who said, no, I have to keep Pickett because he's a proven commodity.
No, he's not. How is he?
My follow-up question, well, he's played 2 years
and it hasn't been good. And it hasn't been good.
I think it's been terrible. I never would have brought him here. But here was the question that I asked. What is the bigger risk? Staying with the known commodity or rolling the dice with either or both rookies? And here is the ultimate, this is what it boils down to. If you decide that you're not going to win, and by the way, none of them subscribe to that theory. Everybody says Joe Flacco is the starter, and Joe Flacco was going to be the starter from jump. And that's what I said. When they brought him in here, I said, there's your starter. And I kept hearing Kenny Pickett, Kenny Pickett, Kenny Pickett. And I'm like, I don't see that. The reason that you would keep Kenny over one of the 2 rookies is because if Joe Flacco goes south, you at least have another guy that's played quarterback in the NFL. And most teams will tell you we need 2 guys on the roster at quarterback that have experience. You don't want 2 rookies.
Hey, listen, experience is cool, but you can have experience and be trash.
Of course.
I mean, here's the thing. We talked, and this is the thing that people get upset at. We talked about earning it. We talked about everybody has to earn it. Shedeur got to earn it. They got to go out there and throw.
Shedeur has outperformed.
He's
Dillon Gabriel in this competition.
He's outperformed. And
would you say by leaps and bounds?
From practice,
leaps and bounds,
from practice.
Yes, let's throw practice in there too.
For practice and games.
Yeah.
Yes. Now listen. Here's the thing. Dillon Gabriel.
Because wait, by all accounts. I mean, unless I misread this, I was looking at Philly reporters because I just think we're going to get a better view of things. They said that Dillon Gabriel looked great. Against the Philly defense.
Shedeur didn't practice.
No, who was on?
Well, I know he didn't. I wasn't talking about Shedeur.
I'm just saying the comparison.
I'm not talking about Shedeur at all. I'm talking about Dillon Gabriel.
On 92,
I mean, just like Shedeur's or Gabriel's status was served.
On 92.3 The Fan, the Philadelphia Eagles beat reporter came on with Jonathan Peterlin and Nick Wilson. He said, "What did you think about Dillon Gabriel?" He said, "Quote." Cleveland Browns.
Who is the Philly Eagles?
Go ahead, because I don't want you to lose the train of
thought. Cleveland Browns, I would not be putting too much stock in Dillon Gabriel as a starting quarterback.
That didn't answer how he looked.
I saw him play, and he looked a little bit better the second day. But I do not believe.
That's what I heard too.
He is a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Which beat reporter? They've got 50.
We can
go back and look
at it. He was on the radio. He was on the radio.
But he said it.
But that's what he said.
The ones that I follow and trust, the two really that I follow and trust, one over everybody, said that he looked good. Here's the problem that we run into, guys. You see it every year. We needed to see 3 games from both of those guys. And we didn't. We're going to see 2 from one maybe and 1 or 2 from the other. And that's not enough. So I think the argument to keep 4 is you don't know what you have yet. And you can't move on. That's why I say cutting Kenny Pickett, I know you know that he's a competent player. Has he been a great player? No, but when you signed him, I went back and looked at his preseason games. I didn't look at all of them.
He was incredible in the preseason.
He was a wizard in the preseason.
And then
they thought in Pittsburgh, we got our guy.
Yeah.
They absolutely thought they had their guy. And then the regular season rolled around, and that guy, he looked as pedestrian as I thought he would look.
I mean, DTR lit up the preseason 2 years in a row here.
That's why.
And he was trash yesterday.
And because of that,
he was trash yesterday.
Because of that, you look at the preseason with a squinted eye. I asked the player about concepts. Like, what did you see in terms of like defenses that they were looking at? Concepts that the offense used. This was not a former Browns player. He told me that he wished that the Browns would have used more complicated concepts in both of their first 2 games. He understands why they didn't. The first thing you have to do to a rookie is what? Build up their confidence. So what do? You give them the game plans that they gave them. Easy, basic, easy reads, simple checks, nothing complicated. He did say that he thought Philadelphia's defense was running some exotics, not true exotics, but they were like on the baseline of purely vanilla and exotic. They were somewhere in the middle. He said Carolina was completely basic. So all of that stuff, the coaches know that we don't. The coaches can see that stuff, and the coaches take that into account.
To me, it sounds like people want to move the needle when this was told that this was a competition. And when you use the word competition, I don't know if this is competition to be the starter or be the backup to the starter.
I think it's to make the roster.
In competition, Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, has looked better than Dillon Gabriel consistently.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that see it the other way too.
And that's cool. I'm not knocking them for their opinion.
And that's why per the executive, what he said was this: if it's equal, and you don't know, and nobody really stood out, he said it always reverts to where were you drafted? How much capital do we have invested in you? And in those cases, typically the high draft wins. Should they? No. How many times have we seen guys? Anthony Schwartz was here a season longer than he should have been.
But I take premise with the fact that it's been even close. It's not been close. It's not equal. The games aren't the same. The throws aren't the same. The touchdowns, the production is not the same.
Well, your grades weren't that far off.
I have an A- to a C+.
That's not far off.
I had a B+ to a C-.
No, his was way off.
I mean,
way off from a B+ to a C-. That's way off.
If you get
no, you got to click above a D, bro. A D is like
a A- to a C+ is not way off, but a B+ to a C- is way off.
A C- to me is, again, it's just a click above a D.
3
points. I don't know how anybody could watch what that said there and say
reps, second team reps. He turned the ball over twice, and when he was in the red zone, the team scored 1 touchdown.
Now, if you're going to talk about turnovers, we could go back to the dropped interception that Shedeur threw. That doesn't count, but the coaches see it. It's on tape.
Again, to me, it just sounds like
that doesn't count.
It didn't count because he dropped the ball.
See, so Kevin Stefanski was asked
if you go back,
hold on.
Wait, because for preference, right? Last year when we beat the Baltimore Ravens, when Jameis Winston threw that pass, the previous play before that,
we talked about that.
Dropped the interception.
We very much talked about that.
We can't sit up here and say, well, if Kyle makes that pick.
No, we did sit up here and say that.
But it didn't happen. We won the game.
I get that. But to the coaches, they saw it. It's on tape. It happened. Kevin Stefanski was asked, and I'm glad someone asked this question, because this is something that we don't have on today's sheet, but it needs to be talked about. The kicking job is really interesting to me.
We talked about it last week.
No, but I'm talking about the kicks in Saturday's game. Mm-hmm. Kevin was asked, does it make a difference to you if a kick actually is no good, but it's called good? Because, let's face it, there was a kick that we were given credit for that wasn't good, okay? And Kevin's answer to me was fascinating. The real answer to that is, it 100% matters. If you're putting the ball over the center bar, over the upright, the crossbar, the middle bar, that counts. When you're every single time you're at the edge of your seat, was that good? No good? That counts. That matters. And yes, so in the stat column, you get credit for a made kick. But don't think the coaches don't remember that made kick.
They see everything.
We do have to talk about the kicking job, too, at some point later this week or maybe even after about final roster cuts. Because
I don't think anyone feels confident in Dustin Hopkins.
I don't. I don't.
We have other stuff we got to get to today, including some comments